Thinking it's muscle, thinking it's sweat, but you haven't seen the real power yet. Stop the noise, cut the cord. You don't need a shield, you just need a sword. It's not the miles you run, it's the angle of the gun. It's not the heavy load, it's the code in the road. One tiny turn, let the old ways burn. Are you ready to turn? Just 2 millimeters away. Just two. Messes 2 millimeters away. So change the angle. The world is yours.
All right, guys, Josh B. Craft here with the 2 millimeter shift. Today, we are doing it different, folks. One of the things that I committed to early on this year, probably sooner than that, but finally getting to actually do this is the health segment of 2 millimeter shift. So one of the things that obviously we talk about is business and other sort of levers, but health is a big part of finding the small hinge that swings big doors, finding the leverage to break free of inefficiency. So we're going to talk a lot about health, and today we're going to kick that off. Now, first and foremost, I am not a doctor. I do not have a license to practice medicine. I cannot make claims about any sort of cures or magical things that can happen if you do the things that I talk about. What I can do, though, is I can go do the research for you, right? And that's what I'm doing here. So hopefully this creates a question for you to maybe go do extra research, validate the research that I've done, and just check this out, because the things that I'm going to talk about aren't always mainstream. You know, it's not as simple as diet and exercise sometimes, even though very often it is that simple. There are other conditions to think about, and we're going to talk about one of those today, which is really, really interesting. So I'm going to start with the clever curiosity hook. What if heart disease, what if the greatest breakthrough in heart disease isn't a new drug? What if it's actually just a very easy to get enzyme that's now clinically proven with human trial studies, and it's dirt cheap, easy to get, and highly effective? What if that's all it was to help with artery plaque? Well, here's the deal, guys. Let me share my screen. I'm going to get into this, and we're going to talk about a compound today called nattokinase. Now, nattokinase, let me just share this real quick. Nattokinase is this really interesting sort of stuff. I recently came across it just through my other studies and research. And one of the things that I found with nattokinase is that there are a lot of things happening. Is my thing still playing here? Sorry, I'm just checking out the stream. I need to turn off that video if that's still playing, because that's not right. In any event, technical difficulties. In any event, nattokinase is something that I recently came across in my studies, and really probably came across it 6 months ago and have been learning about it. But there's something that I didn't know, and there was this clinical trial that was done. Now, here's the deal. Most medications, when it comes to plaque buildup in your arteries, are really designed to do something different than solve the problem. They're designed to stabilize that plaque so it doesn't rupture. If you don't know what a heart attack is, it's the plaque rupturing and ultimately creating a blockage of blood flow. And that, of course, creates a bigger problem throughout your entire system, right? So the statins and stuff like that try to stabilize that, and that works to a certain degree, right? Like, it's not an ineffective idea for it. What nattokinase reveals, particularly the study I'm going to talk about, is that there's something else going on here. And it's not so much about stabilizing things. It's about actually reversing artery plaque. And there's a few different things that do it, but nattokinase is proven to be really, really effective at this. So before we get into that study, first, what is nattokinase? That was my first question. Like, what is this word that I can barely pronounce? I'm probably still pronouncing it wrong, right? Well, it's a Japanese soybean food, and it's actually an enzyme extracted from that soybean food. Now, my understanding is, I've never had the food. My understanding is it's really not a very good texture. It's not a very pleasant food to eat. So a lot of people don't eat it, right? But it is sort of maybe a delicacy of some sort over in Japan. But the bigger thing that this does is nattokinase is something that directly attacks fibrin. Now, fibrin, the way you want to think of fibrin is like a spider that spins a web, right? The web is there to collect insects and flies and things that are flying around that get caught in the web. That makes the spider's food. Well, what happens if the spider kind of spins up a web and then either abandons it or dies or something like that? And there's just things getting caught in it. Well, that web gets all clunked up, right? And what nattokinase actually is the equivalent of the house cleaner coming along with a broom and swiping that web away. So that way, this plaque that's coming in and getting caught on the fibrin, just like the insects get caught on the web, it can no longer block or impede bloodstream. And in fact, it starts to reverse the effect of collecting that high cholesterol or fat material that's in your blood, and that actually shrinks the artery down and allows more blood flow and kind of reverses the whole heart disease thing as it relates to plaque in the arteries. Kind of a crazy thing that this is so available, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But um, one of the things that makes this particularly unique is that this enzyme survives the stomach acid and goes straight to the bloodstream. So it's highly effective this way. And when you find out some other things about fibrin, you're going to find that it actually has some other problems in in your whole system. So the biggest thing with fibrin is it's actually this like mesh like fiber that is a thread like protein. So it's just these little threads that collect things as it goes through the bloodstream, as it gets in your bloodstream, right? It creates a scaffolding or a glue that holds that plaque together on your arteries. So this leads to hardening of the arteries, right? It leads to sludgy blood. There's a thickness to it because that stuff's floating around in there all clumped together. And it can cause other things like nasal polyps or protein clumps in the brain and really impact health overall, right? Like it's not a small thing. Nattokinase is by definition a I gotta try to pronounce this word right. A fibrinolytic, right? And that is just means that it's an anti or antidote to fibrin, if you will. So where's the problem with this? Like, so with everything I've said, you're probably going, well, crap, Josh, I can just go take this nattokinase stuff and just reverse my heart disease, right? Well, listen, I can't make that claim for you. You want a doctor to help you with that, but I can tell you what they started to find. And as we always look for an inefficiency that we're finding leverage against here at 2 mm shift, the inefficiency that they found with nattokinase is that they weren't the recommended dosages were too low to actually have a meaningful impact against some of these other things that are going on in the body as it relates to fibrin. And the normal dose is considered 2,000 fibrolytic units, right? Well, they did this study that I'm going to show you in a second, but they did a placebo on this for 3,600, so it was like 1.5 times the standard dose, and they found out that that wasn't enough of a jump. So that kind of inefficiency of just too low of a dose can create a real problem, right? So while conventional medicine is doing all of this stuff, right, the fibrin is still accumulating in this case. Enter this 2003 study by Dr. Chen. I put the PubMed link here if you wanted to go research this a little bit more. But what he did, he or she, I don't know if it's a he or she. So what they did was get 1,062 patients together. The average age was 67 and a half years old, and they all had what would be considered severe heart disease. They had severe blockages of their arteries to the extent that they were probably quite prone to a heart attack at any point in time, as well as a myriad of other health problems you can imagine at that age with heart condition, all that stuff. They took these people in and they said, listen, we're going to do a high dose intervention of this at 10,800 fibrolytic units instead of 3,600, right? So 3,600 was placebo, and 10,800 is where they ran the test again. So that's, it's not quite 3x, right? But it's a significant difference between the two. So the data is actually really sound. Like a lot of these trials, I'm always a little like, yeah, are you sure? Right? This one seems like it's pretty sound for most trials. So here's what they found. This group that took the 10,800, 36% reduction in arterial plaque. 36%, you guys. Now imagine if you were at like a 70% blockage, right? That would, I don't think the way the percentages work that would cut it in half, but it would be such a significant drop in potential for your actual, for an actual heart attack. And if I remember right, I didn't put it in these slides, but the other research that I was doing, it says something like even a 1% drop in arterial plaque is some massive percentage lowering in the risk of heart attack. Like it's a massive deal. Like this isn't small in any means, right? 22.1% reduction in arterial wall thickness, right? So huge reductions in that. Now the 3600 group, zero significant change, no measurable improvement in lipid profiles, right? This is one of the clearest sort of studies in finding the real effectiveness of this, right? So for plaque reversal, single dose, for plaque reversal, dosage is the single most critical variable, right? 100% in this case. Now, here's what's crazy. This also had an 18% reduction in LDL cholesterol. If you don't know what LDL is, that's the stuff that they say is bad for you. It kind of, there's some other things that make that, dependent whether it's bad for you or not. But let's just say for the sake of it, that's the bad cholesterol. And HDL is the good cholesterol, right? So 18% reduction in LDL and an increase of 16% in HDL. Every cardiologist on earth would be happy with that sort of thing going on, right? Hypertension functions like an ACE inhibitor, lowering systolic blood pressure by 3 to 5. I always forget what that word is. We'll just say by 3 to 5 points. The dialytic by 2 to 3 points. And blood flow viscosity, the sludge, it reduced that, helping prevent deep vein thrombosis and improving circulation as a whole. All that stuff is good stuff, you guys, as far as I can tell. Now, here's what gets crazy. When you take nattokinase, it does some other things. Fibrin is actually something that it gets in your sinuses, and it creates these sort of deposits that are polyps, right? And this goes to chronic rhinosinusitis. So a lot of people that have just, sinus pressure and like sniffles and stuff all the time, that could be a fibrin issue, and nattokinase is just going to help take care of that, right? There's another study that was done that nattokinase effectively shrinks that polyp tissue and significantly thinned thick mucus in patients with asthma, chronic sinusitis, and improved airflow and overall quality of life. So not a bad thing at all. Now, here's one that's interesting. Brain health and amyloid clearance. This is leaning into things like Alzheimer's, you guys. Nattokinase has been shown to degrade amyloid beta fibrils, the protein clumps linked to Alzheimer's disease, right? The cognitive support, animal models demonstrated improved learning and memory following nattokinase administration. And what's next is real human clinical trials on this. So they proved this out in animals. I believe it was mice that they did the study, and it has these brain clearing effects. Guys, like this just, to me, this is my opinion. This is not medical advice, but this seems like a really good thing to take. Now, here's the last thing that I found that's emerging. There's no studies that I found on this yet. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence, and there's a lot of doctors that are starting to point to this, and that is with the emergence of the good old virus that shut down the whole. I don't know if you're allowed to say that word on social media yet or not, so I'll just avoid it. But you guys know the big thing that happened in 2020 where the whole world shut down because of a little virus getting out, right? What the anecdotal stuff is suggesting is that nattokinase is one of the core things in breaking down spike proteins. So if you have those still floating around in your body, either because of the way that vaccine creates those or because you've been exposed to it or whatever, this is one of the compounds that looks like it's doing some real good against fighting those spike proteins. So take that for what it is. I couldn't find a study to like firmly verify that, but it seems like that's true. And it's in a lot of different spike protein compounds that are out there. In fact, a relatively high dose of it is in a lot of those spike protein kind of supplements, if you will. So let's look at this for a second. If the goal shifts from chronic narrowing to active debridement of the vascular system, right? clearing years of accumulated damage. This is plaque reversal. You're going to see good things happen with that as long as you check with your doctor and whatnot. I've started my high dose therapy just as a preventative measure. Like I can't find anything that says it's bad. There's not really much for side effects, anything like that. That high dose thing, I should have mentioned, I know it was on the slide, but it was over 12 months that change had happened. So they tracked that over a 1-year track and saw all of that reduction. Now, the people who actively went 5,000 plus steps a day and got circulation happening actually seen another bump in their overall improvements on those numbers, right? And then this is one of those things that's it's often considered. Now it depends where you're at, right? Like if you're on the risk of heart disease, like you're on the brink of it, a statin may be the best thing for you, right? I'm not a doctor, I can't tell you that, but for those that are maybe not that close, or you just want something to stabilize, something that's a blood thinner without being on a statin that you have a little more control over, this could be an actual alternative for that, right? Like I said, talk to your healthcare professional and that. So safety risks. This is the only stuff where you can get weird about it, right? It does thin your blood. Therefore, it can be something like a bleeding risk. If you're taking something like warfarin or aspirin, you definitely want to have some medical supervision on this. I know if you're going in for surgery and you've had aspirin within a certain amount of time, depending on the surgery, that can be a problem. They'll send you home and let your blood thicken back up, right? And also there's a situation with mechanical heart valves. Hopefully you don't have one of those, but if you do, you probably already know more about what to do with yourself than I ever would. But I wanted to tell you that with nattokinase anyways. So how do you buy this stuff? How do you get it? Guys, you can go to Amazon and get it. The big thing here, though, is you need to look for NSK SD on the label. This is the patented vitamin K free form used in most published research. So you need to get the right form of it. And then the potency, you need to get to 10,800 a day for plaque reversal. With that, you're going to find most of them are like 2,000 to 4,000. So you're going to basically multiply the dosage of whatever it is that you get in order to get there. Just make sure it's that NSK SD stuff. And then take it at night as well. Blood flow slows during sleep and clot risk peaks in the morning. So nighttime dosing maximizes the benefit. That's something I'm going to switch to. I've been taking mine in the morning, so I'm going to start taking it at night after doing some research here. So stop stabilizing plaques, start dissolving its foundation. Like I said, with all of this, I've mentioned many times, I'm going to be very careful. Consult your cardiologist, consult your medical care provider, any of that stuff. Somebody that's licensed to do this stuff. I'm not, but I wanted to share this with you anyways. I can tell you guys, there are lots of things like this. There's another one, aged garlic extract has some similar effects as well. And maybe I'll do a different video on that. But this nattokinase stuff, you guys, it's like, I think the supplement I get, it's like $20 a month, right? I'm not going to recommend a specific supplement here because I want you guys to do your own research on it and figure that out. I'm not trying to make affiliate money on it or any of that. I don't want you to feel like I'm promoting one because of this or that. You guys know the parameters to go get it. So go to Amazon, look up nattokinase and find one with that NSK SD label on it and get yourself up to 10,800 units on that every day. Should be good stuff for you. Anyways, that is the 2mm health shift for today. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you